Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra Sunday. I'm Mark Ross, and we're reviewing the first 6 months on the job with El Paso County Sheriff Oscar Ugarte. Sheriff Ugarte, El Pasoans are beginning to see the sheriff's office at more community events. What effect does this have for both our citizens and your deputies?
Yes, that is correct, Mark. I believe in community policing. A part of my campaign is being transparent and listening to the community. And being out there at these community events, I want the community to feel comfortable. Us as deputies, law enforcement, we are members of these communities. We are not perfect. We try to do the best and learn. When we're out there in these community events, talk to members of the community. Most of the time when we encounter an individual from our community, it's because we're getting called to a 911 event or a crisis, and it's not their best time. At these community events, our community members are more relaxed. You get to have a one-on-one conversation, introduce yourself, letting them know, hey, I'm Sheriff Ugarte, I work for the Sheriff's Office, we patrol this area, how are we doing? How can we improve our services? Is there any concerns in your neighborhood? Because the community are the eyes and ears of law enforcement, and we need them. And I want them to feel comfortable. When they see a deputy out there, I want them to feel comfortable enough that they can approach and just start a small conversation and build that relationship, so when we need them or if there's an emergency in their neighborhood, they feel comfortable to come up to a deputy and let us know what's going on, because they know what is going on in our community.
You've also been a lot more transparent about what's going on in the sheriff's office. How important is it that the sheriff's office stays in the public eye and that you're sharing what you're doing with the community?
Yes, I think transparency in government is very important, but even more in law enforcement. I believe throughout the years there has been a disconnect between law enforcement and the community, and I want to build that trust again. So we need to be transparent. Like I said before, we are not perfect, we are human, we are members of this community. And whatever we can learn from the community when we're out there and tell our story. Tell our story. Sometimes we don't know the story of that actual deputy or that agency, but if we're transparent, we let the community know what's going on as soon as we get information. I think keeping the community informed is very important. And also, for example, the sheriff's office, we use approximately $140 million of community tax dollars to run the sheriff's office. It's very important that we let the community know, what are we doing with your money?
Earlier in the show, you were telling us about the new state law that's gone into effect regarding your gun buyback programs, and that you won't be able to pay people to turn in their guns, and you're working on trying to come up with something that will allow you to continue to do that. Has there been any other legislation that was passed in Austin this session that either benefits the sheriff's office or is detrimental to what you're trying to do?
Another bill that was passed was Senate Bill 8, which requires the sheriff's office, each sheriff's office in Texas, to enter into an agreement with ICE. That's something that passed. It gives us three options. We enter into a contract with ICE. The plan that I'm recommending county attorneys, we still need to look at the language, prepare a contract, but one of the, one of the contracts that you can pick is where detention officers inside the jail actually look for immigration status of individuals that enter the jail. I think that plan will be the one that affects the community less, because if we have deputies out in the street checking for immigration, I think that's going to build a disconnect between law enforcement and the community, and it's going to create fear. So the option of having just the detention officers check for immigration status while the people are incarcerated, I think that's the best option for our community. And we already have working relationships with the federal government because of previous laws where we share information with federal agencies. So I think this would be the best option for El Paso County.
Was there any other items that came out of the legislature that you were concerned about or that you're happy were passed?
The most concerning was Senate Bill 8. And just because of the disconnect, the trust with the community and law enforcement. I want people to feel comfortable and report a crime, report an assault, and I don't want them to have in their mind, if I report this crime, are they going to ask me for my immigration status? Then a lot of people are not going to be reporting crime in our community because they're going to have that fear that we're going to be enforcing immigration law.
Thinking back when we had you on last year prior to the election, the concern back then was Senate Bill 4, which was still in the courts at that time. It almost seems as if Senate Bill 8 is just kind of a change from what Senate Bill 4 was, correct?
Yes, and Senate Bill 4, it's still tied in the courts, but it's almost similar. It's almost similar, and especially for our community, you know, our border community, we Hispanic community, a lot of immigrants here. It's not good for law enforcement. You know, I think law enforcement, the local police department, the local sheriff's office should focus on local crime, such as illegal dumping, DWI, assaults, thefts, burglaries. That's what our focus should be. We have federal agencies dedicated to enforce federal law.
All right, you've been on the job now for 6 months. What remains on your to-do list? What programs do you want to establish or expand?
What remains on my list, and I think it's the most important thing, is giving the staff the proper training and equipment. In order for them to provide a better service, quality services to our community, we need to have the proper staffing, the proper funding, proper equipment, and proper training. And that's something that we lack. It's going to take years before we actually get there, but we've got to start somewhere. And you know, and the assessments that I've been doing right now to present to Commissioner's Court, that plan will have in place what are the needs of the Sheriff's Office so we can properly serve our community.
El Paso County Sheriff Oscar Ugarte, again, thank you so much for coming on ABC-7 Extra Sunday.
Thank you, sir.
And that's ABC-7 Extra Sunday for this week. I'm Mark Ross. Stay safe, stay strong, and I'll see you next Sunday night.